Sparking Change with Gigi, a show that aims to make the world a better place by bringing together authentic minds. This show encourages each of us to be the change we wish to see in the world. Get ready to be inspired and join us on this journey to create a brighter future for all.
Hello everyone and welcome to Sparking Change with Gigi. I'm your host Giovanna Tartarone, and today we have a special show for you. I'm here with a very, very good friend who is a psychic medium and a medical intuitive, and we're going to find out like the mysteries behind this fascinating gift that Francine Tesler, welcome,
Thank you.
that you have, and we're going to learn all about it and see what we can take away from it. I know she's been on the Good Day New York show, and that was a beautiful interview. I saw you just give some great information. And let's talk about, how did you get into this psychic and this gift of yours? How did you find out you had this gift?
I've been doing it since I'm a kid, and I'm originally an artist by trade.
Okay.
But I was saying things and doing things when I'm very young, and I thought everyone else was like me, and I would freak people out, and grew up in the Bronx, and the kids would call me Strega Nona Grandma Witchy because I would say something and it would happen.
Okay.
And I enjoy what I do.
When did you realize that you actually had this gift?
I started to do this full time over 40 years ago.
Okay.
Actually, while I was in college, I was transitioning, and it just kind of blew up, but everyone has a psychic ability. We're just not all meant to be a practitioner.
Okay.
So
tell me, how did you begin to practice, and how did you get into it like full time and make it a career?
So originally, like I said, I'm an artist by trade, and I would always ask God or the universe, what am I supposed to do? And I would always hear, and I always knew that people would know me in some way. I just didn't know in what way. And I did it as a hobby originally. And then before I knew it, I couldn't handle it as a hobby, and I started to do it as a practice. And every time I thought I had to do something else would pop up, and I started to do it. And when I first started, I didn't realize, I thought I was just a psychic. I didn't realize I was a medium. I didn't know what that was. So every time I turned around, something new happened.
Okay.
And then medical stuff started to come up with people, and everyone's like, well, what is a medical intuitive? I'm not a doctor, and I'm not God or anything like that, but I get heat around people. So like, I could see heat around somebody's chest area thinking it's asthma, and it could be acid reflux. It's not an exact science, but I'm a portal, and I'm just the person that gives the message. I say I'm the person that yells, the British are coming, so to speak. But what's interesting is I get really strong visuals. I see images, hear things, feel things. It's like a strobe light, fragmented images, pieces of puzzles, very fast. And I'm trying to put it together. It's like a 6-year-old talking, that had a baby with a mad scientist, was what I always say. So I'm like, what is that? And because I'm an artist, I get very strong visuals.
Okay.
So pickles, generally, if I see it over a woman's head, pickles ice cream, I think pregnancy, right?
Right.
My favorite story is over 30 years ago, I dreamt my dad was pregnant for 3 months. He had pickles over his head, and they were doing a can-can, and he was getting a C-section, and I would call him up and say, what's going on? Why? And then finally, after 3 months, he goes, why are you asking me? Well, I dreamt you were pregnant and giving birth. And he told me very nicely to go, scratch myself. And a couple of weeks later, he had a triple hernia.
Wow.
So the symbolism of it,
Yes.
when, I had an office a while ago, and I had a gentleman come to me, and he had dancing pickles over his head, but they were in cabaret outfits doing the can-can, and I couldn't figure out. I thought maybe he was a sperm donor, or maybe he was a male, one of those gigolos, and I couldn't figure out. I'm turning every color, and he goes, well, what do you see? And I'm like, well, I'm hearing like the ShopRite can-can commercial, you know, da, 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 da. And he's looking at me, and I tell him what I see, and he owns a pickle company, literally.
Okay.
So the thing is, when you go for a psychic reading, we don't know all and see all. You know, everyone has an ability, but it's pieces and fragments, and it's symbolism with surrealism. And, you know, just because I may interpret it as one thing, it probably could be something completely different. Also, one image could mean many different things.
And it, you know, it's all until, I guess, depending what that person is going through, whether they connect with it or not.
Sometimes I don't connect to it till a year later, 6 months later. You know, I've been doing this for such a long time. And I always say, like the song, oh, I'm still standing, for a reason.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I automatic right now, like I give people the paper whenever I do a reading. But it's interesting because I'll have people that I bump into randomly in the grocery store. Oh, I met you, I saw you 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And what you said at the time, I didn't understand until later.
Well, that just happened
yesterday
when we were together in a meeting. And it was just amazing. We were all introducing ourselves. And one person goes, you know, I saw you 20 years ago. And you told me that I'm going to be divorced, and I'm going to be doing something different. And you were absolutely right.
Yeah.
And that was 20 years ago. That
yeah.
You told
actually, over 20 years
over
ago.
20 years ago.
You know, and it was very nice. You know,
took someone to validate that you were correct in your predictions.
Absolutely.
Tell us a nice story, or a story of predictions where your personal prediction that you made. I think you spoke about your dad on your website that I was reading.
Well, like I said, I had dreamt he was pregnant, and
that was the same story.
Yeah, that was like my favorite.
Yeah.
You know, then like even with myself, I always tell people to pay attention to their body. So I wasn't feeling completely the way I should have, and I paid attention, and it turned out I worked itself out. You always have to pay attention.
Right. So, in so many ways, going to a psychic where people say, oh yeah, I don't want to hear any bad news. Is it always bad news?
No. Bad news is interpretive.
Yeah.
If somebody preaches doom and gloom, like I had a reading as I was starting my practice when I was, over 40 years ago. I went to a woman I heard on the radio, was so excited, it recorded it, brought pictures. The reading was so hellaciously negative that I threw everything away and I blocked it. And a lot of the things that she said probably equated 30, 40 years later. But if she had presented it differently, if I see a door closing or a bird or water, symbolically, it generally means an ending. But an ending doesn't always mean a physical death. It could just mean, you get divorced or you move away, or, a friendship.
You're closing one door, opening up another door.
That's right. It's all symbolic surrealism and precognitive. It's like a dream. It's very layered. And, a psychic doesn't know all, see all, otherwise we would win lottery. Also, there is no such thing as magic, spells, curses, evil eye, dirty aura. I would be 100 pounds, a billionaireess, and there'd be an awful lot of men that would be really mad at me. This is a nice show, but there would be they would really not like me. There's no such thing, but I do believe that thoughts create matter.
I do too.
So if you take some things too personally and you obsess over it, you can create that.
I believe that too. I totally.
So if anyone ever says, I see a black cloud, give me $2,000, I'll get rid of it for you, turn them into the authorities. Because again, I tell people that have said that to me, I say, make yourself good looking and a very rich first, and then come back to me.
That's so beautiful. Tell me, when people, you talked about medical medium, and it's just giving, what you see is that light.
The part of the body, like I'll say, look, I see heat in this part of your region, like lower body, and it could be stomach, it could be lower back. So my job is just to alert people to those things. I did an event a few years ago, and I said to this woman, your husband's got something in his chest area. And she was a nice Irish lady, really funny. She goes, oh, that's because he came too close to me. And I go, no, I get butterflies. Subsequently, my hair is standing up on my arms to confirm, I do a party for them. And I walk in and the husband, who I'd never met, kisses me on my forehead. And he goes, thank you. And I go, what? The daughter was at the event. And they tell me the story. My hair standing up straight up on my arms, if you guys can see. Right, like 3 days later, he comes home and he says, I don't feel good. I feel like butterflies. They bring him to urgent care. He had to be airlifted. He was in B-fib and has a pacemaker now. Yeah. And they said, I saved him. But if the daughter was like, wait a minute, she said butterflies. This is very specific. And it's exactly the way he described it. And, so again, it's when I'm not a doctor, but if I feel something for somebody, whether it makes sense or not, I'm going to say, look, if you're interested, may I say what I'm picking up, just be careful.
And there's like a frequency that you're picking up, their energy.
That's right.
So you're picking up their energy.
But I don't have to see them.
Right.
I can do it. I've been doing phone readings since the time of dinosaurs. I actually prefer doing phone readings and doing in person or even Zoom, because I'm able to describe things and situations.
Because you're not distracted. You're very focused on them.
That's right.
Right. That's amazing. And then it's
I'm also clairaudient, so I'm voice activated.
Let's talk about that. How does that happen?
So I see, I hear, I feel the dead people talk to me, and I get the medical. So depending on the person's voice or sound or the vibration, that will activate. I'm seeing these images. I actually feel things. So like a client, I'm like, my knee hurts. You need to check your knee. And they go, oh, I'm getting a replacement in a week. Like I will feel it. It's great for them, but not so good for me.
I was gonna say, how do you protect yourself in those situations?
I wear selenite, which is a stone that, I'm into crystals and stones, and that works really well. Kyanite, blue and black kyanite. I wear a lot of stones. I drink a lot of water, alkaline water or CO2 water. It blocks, but the selenite is a big stone for me. And I try to put the white light around myself, so to speak. The only problem is that I'm a subconscious empath. So I can go into a grocery store and walk over to somebody and not realize I say something to them, and they look around for cameras. So like one of my friends calls it psychic Tourette's, But if I have a message, I'll say, is it okay if I give you a message, of either a long lost loved one or even a health thing, and that's happened to me quite a few times. Another person that is participant to the networking group that we're part of, I did a Zoom with them, and I met them at a fair, and I knew stuff about him, and he always brings that up, so because I went over to him, I'm like, oh, I was feeling drawn to you, and you need to check this and this and blah, blah, blah. And he was like blown out of the water. So it's pretty cool.
Wow. Amazing. I wanted to ask you, do you want to do a session with me right now?
Sure.
All right. Sure. So, let's do it.
So, Gigi, what's your date of birth? Oh, and I'm going to be writing, so if I look down, I don't want you guys. What's your date of birth?
10/28/69. Shh. No one knows my age.
Well, you have an old soul, young spirit. So you're extremely intuitive yourself, which I, intuitive and intuition means into the soul. It's the same word as psychic. People don't like the word psychic because of the Bible talks about false prophets, because they would take advantage of people and extort money. But everyone has the ability. You and I could both play the piano. We're not going to both be virtuosos. So you just have to kind of listen. And because the world today is having a fight between good and evil, I think people are starting to vibrate on a different level, because there is a global and spiritual ascension.
Yes.
So you are starting to act more on your intuition than ever before. And you're embarking on a really new platform and a new road. Like, you're going to come to this road, go left, go right, make your own road. Now, when I do readings, I started to get numbers, and I'm ADD and I'm dyslexic, which sounds kind of funny, but I was getting a lot of numbers before COVID and putting things together, but now I'm getting algorithms, sort of like derivatives in finance, like you connect things and people. So I'm a 1 or a 3, and you're a 1 or a 3. So things will happen to us 1, 3, or 6. So like 1 business or 3 businesses, or you have a job opportunity, you would have either 1 or 3. When you work better by yourself. But if you have to work with others, maybe 2 other people, but you still need to be able to do your own thing. I'm the same way. And you're about to embark on some things. So I see you juggling anywhere between 3 and 6 things, as far as, the show, possibly doing other things, being an advocate, because you're very much into trying to help the underdog. And also you have a lot of spirits that are there assisting you, that I can tell you. But it's like a rebirth that you're going through. Now, I do get pregnancies. Now, I could tell somebody that they were pregnant 12 times and maybe they have 2 kids. I don't think you were pregnant 12 times, but I think you were pregnant 3 or 6. And I know that you have 2 kids, a boy and a girl, so that's great. And the thing is that those kids are going to do some great things also.
I like that.
Yeah, and also a lot of transformation.
That's for sure.
Well, yeah, and you're going to get to do some traveling too.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, you're going to get to do some traveling. And there's a lot of new stuff. I see you getting rid of stuff, and then new things are going to be coming. So it's kind of like you're going from annual flowers to perennials.
I love that.
So perennials, they don't come up all at the same time.
Right.
Daffodils come up at one time, the tulips come up at another, but you always know that they're going to come back. So you're planting the seeds, and that's what's going to happen. And, people say, well, they're not as vibrant, but again, the annuals are maybe more vibrant, but they don't have the same energy field. The annuals do, because they give back to the earth and the universe. So that's what I'm going to say.
That's beautiful.
You're going to do some public speaking, a lot more of that.
Okay.
Possibly writing more books. But I see a series of either self-help books, women empowerment, and I see you on the stage a lot, and possibly some podcasts other than this, being a guest or a co-host and other things.
Okay.
So that's going to explode.
That's exciting.
Who is Rose? Or Rosemary, or Violet, or something with a flower?
Well, Rosa is my sister-in-law.
Okay, I hear it around you. It's very strong,
but that's also my mother's middle name.
Okay, it could be that. What's your mom's birthday? First day?
5/15/40. But she passed away.
No, she had 2 things wrong with her, or 4? Because I'm getting like 2 or 4, at least 2 or 4 things, because she's an even number.
I would say at least 2.
Okay. When you were looking at what happened, it seemed like she was suffering, but really at some point she wasn't present in her body anymore. So her soul had already transitioned, because my feeling is that before we transition, because when we pass, we don't leave, we just change form. So like if you cook a lot of pasta, you put the pot of water on the stove to boil. Mm-hmm. When the water boils, it doesn't leave, it evaporates, it goes in the air. So when we pass, our spirits are like that, as little particles, and you have to look at it like they're giving us little hugs and kisses. So with her, part of her spirit had already transitioned. So I know that like we as people always think that we didn't do enough. You did everything you could. And you need to know that. and your parents' stuff was their stuff. It wasn't your lesson. It wasn't your circus, so to speak.
Mm.
You know, different time, different situation. You speak 3 languages?
I speak 2 fluently.
But a little bit of Spanish also?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like 3. Well, I'm into language. I love language. You know, and whether you speak fluently or not, it doesn't matter. I can put words together and speak a little bit of Albanian. I'm not Albanian. Right. I like language.
Yes.
So Americans, a lot of people that are not born here necessarily don't look at language the same. So unless you think you speak it fluently, you don't say that you speak it, but you do.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you need to just follow your intuition more. That's how I'm here. So
no, I definitely have done that ever since my journey.
Yeah.
I went through a experience with cancer myself, and it changed my life. And
that's the rebirth.
Yeah, and so the transformation occurred where I am more connected to, understanding and listening to my soul and my intuition and guiding me, because it feels I'm more at peace.
Okay.
I really, my life is driven by faith now versus fear, because when we do go through such a transformation,
absolutely,
you see the other side. You start to learn, into a personal development. I went into personal development, and although I have so many degrees, I can't believe what I've learned, when I stepped into understanding this mystic side of the world.
Well, it's the unseen.
Yeah. And so there is a whole world out there that we're not, exposed to in the traditional way in school. And so I stepped into that, and I truly feel that this is where we get our strength from. This is where we really can, live more harmoniously, is when we are connected. The body, mind, and soul is honored.
It's also synergistic.
Correct. And we're living harmoniously that way. I feel now more than ever that I'm living my purpose. I found my purpose, and my purpose is to share the knowledge of this other world that no one is really, I don't say no one, but it's not out in the public and advertised on television, how, whether it's being a psychic medium or being an energy healer or just bringing out awareness that there is other ways that we can embrace, that is new, that not new, but made tap into it. And we have, just like you have a gift, using your intuition and your psychic abilities, we all have gifts.
That's right.
We all came into this earth with gifts, and our jobs are to find out what the gifts are.
That's right.
So that's what I want to teach the world. I mean, by trade, I'm a special education teacher. And I stepped out of that and going to life coaching, and just really want people to know that it's gaining awareness. What's out there? What tools can we use where we are more in control of our lives? And
you're
a
spiritual advocate, basically. You're a spiritual advocate, and the thing about it is the more that we pay attention, the stronger it gets. Because, they did these studies. I mean, the people now, I don't know, but they did a study that we only use 20% of our brain. The people that are more intuitive and people that are healers they use more of the brain. So they did these studies that the frontal lobe is heightened even more, and the frontal lobe is for, restrictions or, learning to have boundaries and all that. But the thing is if we're only using 20% of our brain, where's the rest of it? So I know I use more of it in a different way, And the other thing is that, they have these commercials for other psychic mediums, and they say, come and see this person use their power. It's not a power, it's an ability. Correct. So it's a muscle. Your brain is a muscle, Now, we're animals, we're humans, but we're animals. And I always say to people, if there's a blackout and you're walking down the road, right? And your hair stands up on your arms, it's your body's way of warning you that there could be danger lurking.
Right.
And I always say, listen. So like one of my tag things is listen to the whisper, learn to listen.
Absolutely. And I do a lot more of that.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short commercial break and we'll be right back.
Now, the vast majority, approximately 95% of the people of all countries, go around and around without aim or purpose. They drift with the circumstances of life, good or bad.
A drifter is one who permits himself to be influenced and controlled by circumstances outside of his own mind.
Whereas the successful individuals create their own circumstances and ride them to victory.
When you're on purpose, you're living on purpose. You will never quit if you have a real purpose.
A burning desire to be and to do is the starting point from which the dreamer must take off. But what I have done has been recorded, it's been tested, it's being taken to a free world, and it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born.
And it's going to benefit millions of people who are not yet born. We're some of those people. That we're spreading this to the world. As your awareness grows, the doubt is gone, so that you can manifest whatever it is your heart desires. Isn't that beautiful?
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Okay, you know what I'd love to talk about is, when people go to a psychic medium, they want to connect to their loved ones from the other side. Mm-hmm. Can we go into that? Like, how does that work and what is actually happening?
Mm-hmm. So all psychics are not mediums, but all mediums are psychics. But I always explain to people that there isn't a phone number to call up to dead people. You don't go, hi, can I connect? And they don't go, hi, the money is here and the meaning of life is that. It doesn't work that way. So it's almost like static or an infrared camera. An infrared camera can see heat and life forms that we wouldn't normally be able to see, right? Mm-hmm. And a high frequency radio picks up frequencies that are not necessarily, we can't necessarily hear. Just like a dog whistle, we can't hear it. A dog can, right? So I could be doing a reading, and this is what's happened through the years, because when I first started doing readings, I didn't know I was a medium. And I would say stuff to people, and I would always record it or allow people to record it. And they would send me a note or call me and say, oh, you were talking about this, and I didn't realize you were talking about my parents or this or this. So it sounds almost like shh to me, or I might hear a song, or I might have an image of something, and the people in my head, I call them, they'll say this or say that.
So you'll get messages to repeat.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is that? Or I'll hear a song, When I had a colonoscopy, my first one, like when I was like 40, right? And it was actually in the Bronx, right by the Throgs Neck Bridge, and I'll never forget it. And I come out of the twilight, and I said to one of the nurses, you need to go home. Something's going on. And I don't think anything of it because I don't remember. About 10 years later, 15 years later, I'm somewhere doing an event, and she comes over to me and she goes, oh, do you remember me? I'm like, no. She goes, I was the nurse that you said to go home. I just want to tell you something. She goes, at the time, it seemed like a negative, but it ultimately was a good thing because you had said I was going to be reunited with my past. She goes, and at the time I was married, and you told me to go home. I caught my husband cheating with my best friend, but now I'm with my childhood sweetheart, and we're so happy and blah, blah, blah. And wow. I didn't remember. And like I just had surgery actually the beginning of September. And before I went in, I'm telling people stuff. And then I said, listen, when I come out, I may tell you stuff. And I got a card from all the nurses saying, oh my God, we loved you and blah, blah, blah. I must have said stuff and I don't remember. So like, you see, it's pretty cool.
So it appears whenever they're ready to come.
Right. There isn't a phone number, you can't dial up, like I know that you have a lot of support on the other from the other side. That I can tell you right from the top. And that's probably another reason why you're being guided to do what you do. And also sometimes you go for a reading and the person's looking for the mediumship, but if a person's already pretty psychic or intuitive and they're open, a lot of times you're not going to get a message the way you think because they're already receiving the messages. So like you wake up a lot between 3 and 4 in the morning. We call that the witching hour. That's the time where the portal is very thin. It's like one wall in your house is cellophane and it gives the ability of the spirits to come through. So if you start waking up, a lot at 3 and 4 in the morning, that's generally your loved ones communicating. The only other time that's extremely hot is October. October is, they have the Wiccan holiday, Sumerian, I can never say it right. It's the entire month of October, the portal is open. So you're going to get a lot of it, and the eclipse that we had in April, eclipses affect us about 3 to 6 months later. It's going to supercharge October. So you might see shadows, orbs, that's all spirits, hair standing up on your arms, butterflies, finding coins, things like that. Those are all confirmation of our loved ones. And,
Right.
People think, oh, that's generalized. No, not at all. A song comes on the radio. When we lost our mom, listening to country music in the car with my sisters, and Elvis's song "Love Me Tender" came on. And what's crazy is they weren't playing it on the regular channel. It was only in the car, because I had my sister pull up on her phone and another song, something with Blake Shelton, which I love him, but it was our mom saying hello, and I smelled this perfume, which is my grandmother's perfume, and I said, "Mommy is with them."
I so believe in that. I remember when my mom passed away, just sharing the same story. We were at the wake, and these 2 old ladies passed by. This is when her casket was going into the car, right? And the men were bringing her casket into the car, and these 2 old ladies come with bags, and somehow they had plastic bags, so they were plastic, okay? All the oranges and apples and fruits and tomatoes fell out of their bag and went under the car. And I knew.
That's so funny.
I knew that was, my mom saying, "I love you guys, everything's good."
Well, she loved food. Like
She
food
did.
was
She loved
love.
to cook.
Food
Yeah.
was love. The food
Yeah.
is love. Yeah.
So that was amazing. So I truly believe that they do give us messages from the other side. There's many incidents that occurred, and I don't believe in accidents or coincidences.
That's right.
So I do know that, if we're listening to those little whispers, they are giving us clues on how to, just guiding us to the next step in our lives.
Right.
And, we live in a world where we're so busy. This was my life before my transformation was, I was always on the go. It was like, get out of work, go to school, make sure I go home, feed the kids, get into the car, go back to school,
right?
Come home, study until 9, 11 o'clock at night, get up the next morning and do the same thing. There was no time for me to stop and listen to the whispers.
Mm-hmm. You need a moment of silence. You need time for yourself.
And now I do that every morning. Every morning is the first thing I do. Grab a cup of coffee, and it's, I want to call it meditation, you want to call it prayer, but I honor first God in my life now, and it feels great because I can go my day starting it with a nice, calm, peaceful way.
And you're doing the right thing.
I know I'm doing the right thing because we're serving. We're here to serve each other.
That's right.
And there's, again, you give time for yourself first. And it's not selfish. It's not being selfish. It's honoring who you are.
That's right.
And what you came here to do so that you can be guided. I think before that, I was, with blindfolds. My life was
Horse
just,
with blinders.
yeah, like I was just going like a robot. And we do know now, we do run subconsciously. A lot of the things that we do are based on, habits.
That's right.
So we have a routine that we go through every day. If you look at everything you do, 95% of that is the same.
That's right.
So it's like we're like robots.
But if you don't listen, God or the universe or whoever you
want to call it,
yeah, they will make you listen.
Oh,
no,
say that again.
Well, the thing is,
I agree.
Is astrologically in 2020 something had happened that hadn't happened since the time of dinosaurs. All the planets were in a Mercury retrograde. A Mercury retrograde is a stop, right? Well, what did we do? We stopped. Now, most of the time, people view Mercury retrogrades as negative, but they're a cleansing agent to say, okay, look at the pink elephant in the room, right? So we started that cycle. Then last summer was a very similar cycle where almost all the planets were in retrograde, and it was about recalibrate, reset, cleanse. So I shifted some of the things with my practice. You're doing the same. And then we had the lunar eclipse and the big solar eclipse this year.
Yeah.
Now, the one that we had in April is the most powerful eclipse we will ever have in our lifetimes. That eclipse is almost like a giant wave that we're supposed to ride. Anything that we wish for or want and need, we can manifest.
Mm-hmm.
And thoughts create matter.
Absolutely.
And there's so many possibilities now, and utilize it. We have another eclipse coming up the first week of October. That's another one that I think it's a solar eclipse also. That will be heightened again, and make it even more people are going to be very emotional. Like also people, my clients and just people in general, I'll always say, if you're feeling really emotional or you're feeling wonky, look, whether it's a full moon or a new moon or was there an eclipse, pay attention. And that's what this is. Yeah. And it's great. And I think that, they talk about a global and spiritual ascension. More and more people are waking up. Yeah. We were in a deep sleep. We were all in hibernation mode, and also think of how different the world is from 2020. We had to recalibrate, 9/11, we had to face our mortality. Then we had the stock market crash. Then we had COVID. Right. So each time we had to pivot and revamp and go outside of our comfort zone.
Yes.
And you have to push yourself. You can't stay complacent. You got to keep pushing. And if something doesn't work, try something else. Right. And that's where my specialty in business is. So.
But let's talk about that a little bit, because you're helping a lot of businesses now to really take a look at, even their existing business plan.
That's right.
And why, they might want to consider pivoting to a different way of thinking.
That's right.
Right? Because the old way of thinking is more about, and correct me if I'm wrong, competition and just by themselves.
And repetition.
And now you're saying, you know what, let's step out of that box.
Right.
And let's see another way that, I will present to you. Let's talk about that, because that is beautiful. Because a lot of businesses during this time right now, I see just around my area, are closing down.
That's right.
And, here they're trying to build something. They came out of COVID. Now either they change or they're close.
That's right.
So let's talk about the beautiful work you're doing there.
I'm sort of like an eagle. An eagle is the only bird that can fly above a storm. And the eagle can see all the roads and all the highways. Now, we may decide that you and me are going to go to Boston, right? And 287, the highway, leads to all the highways. But you might take the Merritt and I might take 95. You may get there before me. It doesn't mean that we're not getting where we're supposed to, but the people that are having a business, like I was revamping my business last summer, advertising something, and I spent money on a space to do an open circle, like an open gallery circle.
Okay.
And I spent a lot of money advertising for 3 months, and the voice said, get rid of it. And I'm like, but I spent money. You're going to spend more money, get rid of it. And I'm like, but what? God will take care. And then I got pulled to Connecticut. So like, the thing is, I can see things that other people can't see, because it's the unseen. It's like an infrared camera. It's like a high frequency radio. I'm operating on a different frequency.
Yes.
And if the need is there, I can help you.
Right.
You just have to be open to make certain changes. I'm not going to tell somebody to run into traffic, but I'm going to say, look, you're spending money in this area, just like, websites and as a whole are being used more as a bio. It's people aren't really necessarily going to websites, as an example.
Right.
So there's other things that you could do, like being on this,
Right.
things like that. So I'm going to give you the perspective and give you the information like an algorithm. And I also connect dots and people and situations. So like if you were an oil company and you needed to invest money, otherwise you're going to get taxed up the yin yang.
Yes.
And then I have a company that's a t-shirt company, which is what happened. They were looking to expand, but they needed the money. I don't know why, but I connected them, and the oil company invested. They got to do what they needed to do. They needed to do what they needed to do. And it was like connect the dots.
That's beautiful.
And everyone was happy.
So you're helping businesses to really open, giving them new opportunities that they don't see.
That's right.
That you're able to see that are unseen to
Absolutely.
the naked eye, let's say.
Absolutely.
Because of your psychic abilities.
But when it's yours, you're not going to be objective.
Right.
So you're going to be very emotional. So I'm giving it from a different perspective, a different set of eyes.
Right.
Just like they always say, from the hearts of babes, from the mouths of babes. Like,
Yeah.
kids, think of me like a 6-year-old. Like, I'm going to say or see something that a 6-year-old might see.
Without judgment.
That's right.
Without judgment.
That's right. And I'm going to be like, look, this is what, this is. And you can take the information and you have free will.
Right. Right. I love that. Because that's not only are you helping people on the personal side,
That's right.
but also on the professional side. So tell me how do you do a session? Like if somebody wants to contact you, how can they do that? I know we spoke about, you have a beautiful gift here. She's going to, go ahead, you talk about it.
So my website is actually being migrated and being revamped.
Mm-hmm.
It's Francine Tesler with 1s.com. You can also text me at 914-469-6693. I'm offering a 15-minute session to all new clients. There's no obligation. And then once we finish the 15 minutes, if you decide that you want to do a full service, we work it out.
Yeah, so make sure you mention Gigi so that you can receive the free discount, the discount.
The 15 minutes.
The 15-minute discount. Before we go off, I just wanted to share with us, have you, where are you doing some events? Because I know you have some stuff coming up soon.
I'm going to be in New Canaan for the Haven. It's called the Mystic Mingle on Tuesday, October 8th.
Okay.
It's for members and non-members. It's like a message circle. I'm going to be talking about the psychic realm and answering questions. I'm also going to be at the Warburton October 17th.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Thursday. It is a nursing facility rehab memory care, and that's a free event. You register. The Haven is a small fee, but I'm going to be there talking to new people, and you get to be in the new building, and it's really great. And it's meant to have people know that there's a new memory care unit at this facility. It's a beautiful estate. They also have low-income housing for a lot of the nuns and a lot of the people that are elderly that wouldn't be able to get housing as a normal thing. But they revamped everything when COVID happened. They got rid of, they changed out a lot of the staff.
Okay.
And the non-for-profit that oversees it revamped everything because COVID brought out whatever was hidden, positive or negative, And it's a really very beautiful place.
Okay. Yeah, we'll make sure that they can go on your website to
Yep.
get that information.
Yep.
Beautiful. What else I wanted to ask you was if you have people out there that are hesitant, scared, let's say even to try to do a psychic reading, what can you share with them?
Take what you need and leave the rest. I'm not preaching doom and gloom. It's not magic, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And I make it very relatable. I'm an artist and I'm funny. I use a lot of cartoon images and stuff like that. You know, I have a friend and I would say to him, when I first met him, I said, you remind me of Underdog. And he sent me a picture of him dressed as Underdog when he was a kid. You know, so because I used to be Underdog as a kid. I thought I was Underdog and I would jump on people going, you're an evildoer, Underdog. You know, but I get a lot of funny images because no one wants to hear doom and gloom.
Yeah. No, you have to have a sense of humor.
Absolutely.
And be enthusiastic.
But one image could mean 50 things.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
potato. You know, it's sort of like a dream sequence, right? You're sitting and you're dreaming, right? You're held captive audience. I always tell people, even when you have a dream, don't pay attention to what is currently going on in the dream sequence. Don't look at the main characters. Look on what's going on behind the scenes, because that is the real message. That's how I get messages from myself and my family. It's not the main characters. It's what's going on behind, and that's the subconscious that we don't want to pay attention to.
Right.
So, you know, it's like a daydream and a dream and a slideshow, you know.
Absolutely.
You know, and thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure to have you here. And, you know, I know you're making a difference in this world.
So are you.
And, well, thank you. And I know people need to connect and really take more control of what they want in life.
That's right.
Versus just taking what's out there. Because when we have more control, we feel, we honor ourselves.
That's right.
We honor ourselves. And that's really the message that we're, you know, both sending out to the world is honor yourself. Listen to those little voices in your head, because they're trying to tell you something. And I know, you know, we're so busy in this world that, like you said, we're working from the subconscious, that consciously we're not aware of what's available for us to step into the gifts that we all came to this earth to help each other with. And, you know, I appreciate all the work that you do. I know you're on a mission yourself to really help people step into, you know, their true self, you know, and their gifts that they bring to the world. You are very funny.
Thank you.
And I am, you know, honored to have you here with me. And
I'm honored. And I'm already connecting you, to two different people. So I'm hoping.
Yes, no, I love the fact, and this is how we help each other, is really to connect.
Pay it forward.
Paying it forward. I know there's more. I want to tap into your wisdom to share with everyone. Who have you done a psychic medium to readings that you can share with us that are famous?
So I have some celebrities. One of them is Vanessa Williams.
Okay.
You know, and her family, very lovely people.
Okay.
She's a Pisces, but she's got a lot of fire. She's got a lot of fire in her chart.
Beautiful woman.
Oh yeah, but she's got big balls. You know, excuse my French. You know, some of the other people I can't really discuss, but I have a lot of male clients because I specialize in business, and I love doing what I'm doing in New York. And well, Rosanna Scotto. And the staff there, the people there are awesome. I really enjoyed that, you know, and I'd like to be back on again. Hello.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, thank you so much again for coming. And
thank you for having me.
We'll have you back again. I know sometime in the future, I can see that already. And I appreciate you coming. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Sparking Change with Gigi. I'm your host, Giovanna Tortorone. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining me on Sparking Change with Gigi. I hope that our episode today has ignited a spark within you to create positive change in your own life and in the world around you. To learn more about how you can become a guest or supporter, head over to sparkingchangenow.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, please consider subscribing, sharing, and leaving a review. Your feedback is incredibly valuable to me, and it helps me to continue producing content that sparks change in each of us and the world. You can find us on various platforms, including Google Play Store, Apple App Store, YouTube, Facebook, Roku, Android TV, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire. Thank you again for watching, and I look forward to having you join me again next week on Sparking Change with Gigi.